Well, g'day everybody and welcome to one of Fergy's how-to sessions. So today we're going to cover King George whiting in Western Port, where to find those lovely King George whiting. We all love catching them. It's so exciting when they're biting and we love eating the things as well. Now, I'm in the shed, a little bit of rain outside. Sorry if you can hear a little bit of rain in the background. Hopefully the mic's not picking up too much of that, but let's get started, eh? So you've got the map of Western Port. There, that's the whole map of Western Port. And I honestly don't think there's not a spot in Western Port that you can't catch a King George whiting. They are literally throughout the port. Once again, we're going to start in the top end of Western Port, so we're going to break it down into sections. So I'm going to start here on the top end of Western Port. I'll put the map on the screen there for you to have a look at. The top feeder channels, people think of them quite often just as, you know, like snapper and gummies, but I can tell you, Bolton's, Boycher, Lyle's, Turidan Channel, all those are some of the best whiting spots in Western Port. People just don't realise how good they are. You've seen me on the show catch, you know, I have sessions on my own where I've caught 20, 25 whiting, heap of trevally, snapper, gummies, all in one spot. Bolton's, Boycher, Lyle's. I get up in those channels, drop the burley pot down and just wait for the fish to come through and have an absolute ball. Plenty of fish are caught. So that Bolton's, Boycher, Lyle's, very, very productive. Joe's Island, absolutely brilliant whiting fishing all the way around Joe's there. So you can get into a lot of those little channels, edges there. The little drop-offs, 6, 8 metre drop-offs, fish very, very well for whiting. But coming across there, Turidan Channel, that is probably famous for King George whiting. Turidan Channel is full of exceptional whiting fishing. So all the way up through Turidan Channel up here, there is some brilliant spots up through there. All those little feeder creeks that run off, little feeder channels that run off there. Have a look in those channels. Stick your nose up in those channels, 3, 4 metres of water, and you will catch some cracking bags of whiting, full of them. On the southern side there, along French Island, just be aware you have got a marine park that runs along there. From the back of Joe's, there is a marine park. It will be clearly showed on your chart plotter, and there is yellow markers there to indicate where that is. I see a lot of boats actually still fishing up in those marine parks. Stay out of there, you don't need to be there and you will get fined. But along that area, along here, along the back of Crawfish Rock, just on the edge of the marine park where you can fish, you'll fish there. It's fairly steep drop-offs, goes from sort of 3 metres to 12 metres really quickly. And when the tide's running hard on the bigger tides, it's almost impossible to fish there for whiting. But on the smaller tides in that sort of 10, 12 metre drop-offs there, like in November, December, around at Christmas, I have caught some exceptional bags of whiting along there. Brilliant spot for whiting. So Turidan Channel though is gold. Right across the top of the top end there, the top of the north arm, or moving to the top of the north arm, Quail Bank, Turidan Bank. Everyone thinks about them for squid. Along the top here, when you come around from Crawfish Rock and you start coming back around Quail Bank, Turidan Bank here. Absolute brilliant King George whiting fishing along Quail Bank and Turidan Bank. You can do that in sort of, you know, 3 to 6 metres of water. It's very productive. But on the high tide, you can get right up on the top of Quail, right up, like as far as you think, you know, that's a long way in. You'll still be in 2 metres of water. Some beautiful big sand holes up in there. And I'll tell you, some really big bags of whiting come from up on the top of Quail and Turidan in those sand holes. So have a good look up in there on the last of the flood of the tide. You might be surprised how much you get. Eagle Rock, absolutely brilliant whiting. It's just heavy rubbly and sand. It's everything around there. Eagle Rock is an exceptional whiting spot. Right around it, some days in 6 metres of water, some days in 3 metres close. Smaller tides, I'll be out in sort of 8 to 12 metres of water and get some really good bags of whiting. Now, the Eastern Channel, you know, or Middle Channel that's called in here, but it's the Eastern Channel we know, runs down here on the eastern side of Middle Spit, down through here. A lot of very good fishing in there, very, very good whiting grounds all the way down this channel. And if you have got an easterly wind or a southeasterly, which we get a lot of, it's very good to hide in here. French Island will give you protection from that easterly, and it's very productive all the way down here past Chilcott's Channel, Chilcott's Rocks down here. Absolutely brilliant. Red Bill Creek here. There's a creek that runs in, it's on your plotter called Red Bill, number 8 marker buoy there. Really productive area for good whiting. So all the way down here, right down here to Tankerton, absolutely brilliant. And the cool thing about that, if there's 50 boats all along this side of Middle Spit, which you'll see 50 boats, go over the other side of Middle Spit into that channel, and there might only be 4 or 5 boats, and you'll catch more whiting there because you haven't got all the boats on top of you. Very good. Now, there's a thing called the Cut, and this little channel that runs through Middle Spit that joins Middle Channel up here into the North Arm. Be very cautious crossing through there. You will get caught out. The sandbanks move a lot, so don't just think, oh, my plotter says I can drive through here and go through there at 25 knots. I always go through there at about 5 knots because I can be driving through where my plotter is showing me it should be 6 metres of water, and I'll be lucky to have a metre. And a lot of people get stuck there, including some of the well-known charter boats that have fished it for 20 years, get stuck at the bank because it moves a lot. But that little cut there can be very productive, and either end of the cut is very good. So be very aware of the channel they're moving there. Hopefully that rain's not too noisy. If it is, I'll have to reshoot this. Hopefully it's not. So, as I said, so Quail Bank, down Turidan Bank, brilliant. All the way down here is brilliant. But Middle Spit, famous for King George whiting. And Middle Spit, some days you'll get up on the top of the Middle Spit there in 2 metres of water on the flood tide, and you'll get exceptional bags of good whiting in 2 metres. I tend to fish most of my King George whiting along there in sort of 6 to 12 metres of water, particularly on the smaller tides. When there's not a lot of run or we're getting towards the end of the tide, I'll drop out into sort of 12, 14 metres even and pull some really big 40, 45 centimetre whiting in the deep. You might have to use 4 ounces of lead, even some days I'm using 6 ounces of lead. But man, I pull some big whiting in those deeper channels there. And the good thing is I'm also away from some of the boats. In the shallower waters, the 2 metres and that, if you burley too much, the toadies will just drive you nuts. Toadies and leather jackets will destroy you. So, but the whole Middle Spit here, we got marks for whiting. I'll give you an idea. Down here in the North Arm, where I fish in my snapper areas, I have got marks for whiting that I fish in 12, 14, 16, 18 metres of water. How did I find them? I was snapper fishing, and the baits have been getting whack, whack, whack and not hooking up. Feed down a lighter rod and bang, start catching whiting. And that's where I go on those small tides. When we've got the very small tides and we've only got, 1.3, 1.5 metres of run for the tide, Fergy's out there in 12 to 15, 18 metres of water, burley pot down and working the baits, and man, the whiting, might not catch you a 40 whiting for you and a mate, but the whiting you catch are well worth catching. I'd rather catch a dozen big whiting than 20 or 30 small whiting. And those deep channels along here, like it. This whole reef here, that long reef, holds some absolutely exceptional bags of whiting. So when you are snapper fishing out here in October, November, put a whiting rod down. You might be surprised just how many whiting you've done. Me and my mate Pete Vink did it there last year on a show. We were snapper fishing, they wouldn't bite. I put down 1 whiting rod for a look. Next thing we had 2 whiting rods down and we got 40 big whiting in 8 metres of water there, so never discount what's along here. So that whole North Arm here, brilliant whiting fishing, but I said Turidan Bank, Quail Bank, exceptional. The Middle Channel or the Eastern Channel's brilliant. At the bottom there, it's not showing up in these map printouts, unfortunately, you got Turidan, where the jetty is there. That whole corner there is exceptional whiting fishing, anywhere from 2 metres out to 8 to 12 metres of water. Turidan holds good whiting nearly all year round. Very, very good whiting spot. Out the front of Sandstone Island down here from Hastings, the mouth of the Hastings Channel, exceptional whiting. Down here through Sandstone, where the old submarine used to be, all through there, exceptional whiting. Right down along the front of Stony Point, there is good whiting grounds all the way down along there. Moving along the front of Phillip Island, right across the front of Phillip Island here, get up out of the deeper water, get up onto the bank there in about 6 metres of water at the front of Cowes, Rill. Beautiful whiting grounds through there, whiting right around there. As I said at the start, I reckon there's not a spot in Western Port that you can't catch King George whiting. But right along the front here is brilliant. As you work your way out here up the front of San Remo, out there in front of the police station, has always been known for exceptionally good King George whiting. So when you go into the bay there in the front of San Remo, where the police station and all that is, beautiful good King George whiting spot through there. Have a good crack through there. The Corals holds quite a bit of whiting. Up here through Coronet Bay, up into Coronella, very, very good whiting grounds. Tortoise Head Bank, exceptional whiting. That's where you'll see a lot of the big charter boats anchored up, particularly after Christmas. They'll be all on the in front of Tortoise Head Bank here and right through to about April. Very, very good through there. Your little channel that runs through here, Gardener's Channel, very good whiting ground through there. I always put a gummy rod out the back when I'm whiting fishing there, because 8 out of 10 times I get a gummy while I'm whiting fishing in Gardeners. Along the front of your long point here, where the old jetty used to be, there you'll see a heap of poles still there. There used to be a jetty there. That's very, very good whiting fishing along through there. Once again, up around through Elizabeth Island, brilliant, and then up through Mosquito Channel and right up through Coronella, right up into the top of Spit Point, etc. here, right up in through here, there's good whiting. I know that's pretty vague on whiting. I can just say go everywhere and you'll catch whiting. It is trial and error a bit with whiting. Some days you'll do 20 drops and only got 3 fish, and on the last drop you'll catch another 40. The next day you go out there and you'll drop and you'll just catch 40 fish on the first drop. You just never know. All I can tell you of King George whiting, don't be afraid to try different depths. Go in, 2 meters of water. Not getting him in 2 meters, go to 4, go to 6, go to 8. As the tide slows, drop into 10, 12, 14 meters. Get into those little bit deeper water. When you're in the deeper water, I like to teabag my rods. Teabagging means I use my rod tip, I just pick it up like that to pick the sinker up off the bottom and let the sinker go dunk hard on the bottom. When it hits the bottom, a little puff of sand will come up and the whiting love it. And then I'll rip off 300 mil of water and tip, bounce that bait back along. Bang. The whiting will just grab that bait if they're in the area and they climb all over it. Your prime baits, squid, cuttlefish, pippies, mussel, all works very, very well. Yabbies, if you can go and pump yourself some fresh yabbies and that, or some fresh worms, brilliant baits obviously as well. But don't be afraid to have a go at some soft plastics on them too. That does work. Righto, so that's Western Port whiting. That's a pretty quick run around. I hope that gives you some starting points. Go and chase some King George whiting, and in half those areas, throw a gummy rod out the back or a snapper rod out the back at the same time, because you never know, you might just pick yourself up a nice bycatch at the same time. Hope that's helped you. Thanks for watching.